Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a special video brought to you by Reality Skewed Gamers. I'm your man with the plan, Ranger J 1999, and joining me is my partner in crime, the one and only sexy Buddha, Sir Loki. Sir Loki, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing good, guys.
And we were just walking along. We found these two guys on the side of the road. Decided to pick them up and say, hey, let's talk some Star Wars. And we are here with the vivacious, salacious SBCrumb.
Hello there. Thank you for having us.
And a newcomer to the skewers, we've got the man, the myth, the legend. We've got CG Miller joining us today. How are you today, sir?
Doing great. How about yourself?
We are awesome. Glad to have this opportunity as we are here to talk and discuss the new kit for the new Maul, and we're really excited to have this opportunity. So thank you for Capital Games for allowing us to do this. We're going to ask some questions here and get into the nitty gritty of this new kit. If we're all ready, let's jump right in. The first question is, so when you were kind of looking at the version of Maul that were getting brought to us, went into that decision for this specific version instead of like some of the other ones that are still out there that have not been brought into the game?
Well, we decided on the season 7 Maul because when we watched that series of Clone Wars, like the two standout characters were Maul and Ahsoka. We really wanted to put like those versions of the characters in our game because we loved the way they interacted with one another, the way they fought. The lightsaber battle is amazing between the two, and really that kind of just tugged at us and said, you know, hey, let's put in these specific versions of the character, season 7 Ahsoka, season 7 Maul.
We did see unaligned Force user again under Maul. You could technically put Commander Ahsoka Tano and Maul on the same team. They could have some kind of synergy with unaligned Force user. Is there like light at the end of the tunnel for unaligned Force user tag?
I'll point out something that we've been doing but hasn't been spoken out loud, and that is if a kit's going to refer to unaligned Force user, we're going to cage it as to light side or dark side unaligned Force.
Fair enough.
Unaligned Force user as a tag on its own, probably never going to get a direct call out, but a character will call out for dark side or light side unaligned Force users. And we are very aware of characters we're putting this on, characters we plan to put this on, and how they're going to interact with characters who are looking for it or future characters who might look for it.
With Conquest, you guys have been introducing these characters through Conquest, Maul's being the new one. How are you feeling about these releases as you're using them in Conquest?
Yeah, so as you know, we give out characters in a variety of different ways. So like everything from like a Marquee and Galactic Chase, which is basically open to anyone, you know, just log in, play a little bit and get enough shards to get the unit. All the way up through Galactic Legend, where it requires heavily invested in a bunch of thematic characters in order to have access to the event. So, and you can tell that there's a power scale, like Galactic Legends, way better than a Marquee. In the middle of that scale, kind of more towards Galactic Legends, are our Conquest characters. And so by having this design space for us, it allows us to bring you characters like Commander Ahsoka Tano and Maul that are specifically made to be powerful characters that lift Galactic Legends to an even higher level of awesomeness.
You know, we're hoping to update Conquest on a more regular basis. It's been a while since we've done it, obviously, between 1 and 6 here. I think, you know, with our first one, no one had access to hard mode, so we didn't get a lot of data on that, no data on that. Then 2 and 3, we started getting data on like how people are interacting with hard mode and stuff like that. And now we finally had enough data to kind of really go, okay, this is what Conquest looks like. But ideally in the future, we'd start, you know, updating it more frequently than once every 6 events. You know, we'd like to do it once every 3 or 4 events in general in the future. That's not a hard cadence I think we can commit to right now. But and generally when we're doing that, these kind of updates, this should be something also cool and exciting to chase through that event as well. So whether that's new characters, new ships, all that kind of stuff. So I think we want to continue doing that in the future, in the cadence we've sort of set out every 3 months or so. Doesn't mean we're not going to change it up in the future with all sorts of different ideas as they come along. But for the foreseeable future, I would imagine every 3 or so conquests, we're going to add something new for people to get excited about.
You mentioned in the Road Ahead video that Maul is kind of like the counterpart to a Commander Ahsoka Tano. When I look at his kit right now, I look at the faction tags. I think a lot of us in the community were kind of hoping he was going to be a scoundrel, kind of like Ahsoka is, how she has scoundrel, Galactic Republic, Unaligned Force user. She has more synergy than Maul, it seems like right now. But can you kind of explain why the limited amount of factions?
Yeah, we definitely, we look at the tags and we add tags that are A, thematic, and B, have gameplay purpose behind them. And whereas Ahsoka got Scoundrel for her moments in that same season where she was with the Martez sisters, Maul's sort of counterpart to that, getting Scoundrel, is getting Mandalorian as his tag. We looked at the number of Mandalorians we had in the game. We had 5 light side Mandalorians and 4 dark side Mandalorians. So adding Maul as a Mandalorian makes a 5th dark side Mandalorian. So you can actually field 2 Mandalorian teams, entire Mandalorian teams, if you feel the need.
Up until now, the Mandalorian faction has seemed a little bit underwhelming, underperforming. How do you think, with the addition of Maul, specifically like his leadership ability, for instance, will be able to boost that faction?
The Mandalorian faction was added retroactively to the game, right? Like it was for the longest time, like when I started, people were like, we need to add a Mandalorian faction. And I would ask people, I'm like, what does that mean? What does a Mandalorian faction mean? Does it mean people from the show? Does it mean people that wear the armor? Does it mean people from the planet? Like there's so many different things it could mean. And so we had to kind of figure that out on our own before we added it to the game. And so by that time, we already had all of these quote unquote Mandalorians out there. None of them were built to synergize with one another. So we were forced to create units like the Armorer and Bo-Katan to do their best to unite them under a common leader and give them all abilities. And Maul is no different. He's doing his best to unite people under his Mandalorian banner, giving them the bonuses for being under him. And then, purely thematically, we wanted, to play off that throne war aspect. If you are going up against another Maul team or a Bo-Katan led team, then Maul will give them the Mandalore title buff. And now if you can defeat that character, then Maul can get 2 of those buffs and then get a crazy set of bonuses for him and his entire team based on just, being able to defeat the enemy Mandalore leader and claiming the throne. We very much see him supporting Galactic Legend Lord Vader, much like Commander Ahsoka Tano supports Jedi Master Kenobi.
There you go.
Ahsoka came out, Commander Ahsoka Tano. She's got the Shien buff. What do you have installed for Maul right now? What unique things can you tell us about the kit so far?
So Maul's got the new buff Anguish. All right. And this is something that, like I said, really plays into his obsession with Kenobi and how he hates himself as much as he hates Kenobi. So for every stack of Anguish he has at the start of his turn, he's going to take a little bit of damage on himself. But he's got an ability that when he activates it, he can keep activating it over and over again. And every time he does, it consumes a stack of Anguish. And so it's sort of like our homage to Maul's hallway scene that he got in season 7, where we have Lord Vader's merciless massacre, and Maul gets his own sort of like his version of the hallway scene just by consuming all of your stacks of Anguish and getting those 5 off. And the great thing about the kit is we were able to, one of the things we looked at, we're like, okay, so if he's going up against like Jedi Master Kenobi, we can have him start at 5 stacks of Anguish because this is his enemy, right? And we said, why not any Kenobi? I mean, we've got several different Kenobis in the game. Like, is there a drawback to General Kenobi or old Ben Kenobi doing the same thing? Not really. So, his obsession goes beyond a single unit in our game, goes to all Kenobis.
The Anguish buff like really supercharges up Lord Vader with how that Lord. I mean, you haven't seen Lord Vader's kit at this point, and you guys will see that in the future for sure. But sneak peek, Lord Vader's ultimate ability charges off when his squad mates take damage. And each stack of anguish is a separate instance of damage. So you can get, 5 stacks of damage, then 4 stacks of damage, then 3 stacks, 2 stacks, and 1, because as he takes a turn and uses that ability and then gets a bonus turn, he's going to use up one of those stacks of anguish, but then he's going to go again when he has the 4 stacks and the 3, blah, blah, blah. And so it's going to do a heck of a lot to get like Lord Vader off the line real fast. So Lord Vader and Maul are going to be a powerhouse together, just like, how Kenobi and Commander Ahsoka Tano are right now.
When you initially designed the kit, so when you're looking at, so you've chosen this version of Maul, what was the overall design influence of like how his abilities would play out in the game?
So we definitely went beyond his appearance in Season 7 just to be inspired by, right? The anguish stacks that he gets, that's basically really key to his like Kenobi obsession that he's had for the majority of Clone Wars, right? And even into Rebels. And then we even looked at, he was leader of Mandalore for a brief time. So we really wanted to play into that sort of leader of Mandalore ability and gave him that tag as well. And so he's got some play with some Mandalorians.
Is it safe to assume that Vader will be out before Maul? It seems like it.
I think that's a reasonable assumption.
Yeah. It's kind of like Jedi Master Kenobi, right? Like Jedi Master Kenobi came first, then Commander.
And we can start getting Ahsoka Tano shards.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll start getting, he said like when Maul comes out in Early Reservation Day. I think it's in line with what we've seen with Kenobi and whatnot. And obviously third set of requirements are coming out in the future. I don't think those are released yet, depending on when this video goes live. But the date for that is already out there. We announced that in the road ahead and whatnot. So it's not a surprise.
I know what those are if you want to ask me. I'm not going to tell you. But
I want to ask you the hard questions. These are the hard hitters right here. Now, it's
if a player uses Maul outside the team, outside of Lord Vader, how's that going to affect Lord Vader's viability, and how viable is Maul as a Mandalorian lead or with other teams? Like, because we talked about, with Commander Ahsoka and Jedi Master Kenobi being that really dynamic duo, seems like there's going to be another dynamic duo, but how effective will those two characters be separately if they're not together?
Much like Commander Ahsoka Tano and Jedi Master Kenobi, these two units were built for each other, right? And if you have Lord Vader, we very much expect you to be using Maul. You will find far greater success with Maul under Lord Vader than Maul elsewhere in your Lord Vader trying to take on other challenges. But as for Maul on his own or plugged into another team, we've seen a lot of success. He's able to slow down a lot of teams that tend to act fast or get stuff off very, very quickly. Him on his own can slow him down just enough so that some weaker teams can take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to like Commander Ahsoka Tano's viability, right? Like she's obviously great, as we said, under Jedi Master Kenobi, but she definitely has some places in other teams. If you don't have Kenobi or if you don't have Lord Vader, this is still a very strong character. Like, and it's going to be very useful for you in a variety of different squads, I think here.
We're looking at the kit right now. Commander Ahsoka Tano has an instant kill. Maul, I'm reading the kit. Maybe the instant kill is buried in the kit somewhere. I don't blatantly see it. I'm a little concerned. Jedi Master Kenobi, Commander Ahsoka Tano, they're like a dynamic duo. Sounds like Lord Vader and Maul are going to be another dynamic duo. And if they fight each other, I'm a little worried Commander Ahsoka Tano is going to annihilate somebody on Lord Vader's team. Is it safe to assume that a Lord Vader and a Maul have a chance to stop that turn one annihilate from Commander Ahsoka Tano behind a Jedi Master Kenobi? Like, I'm a little worried.
Maul is meant to slow down teams and add some cooldown to abilities. So even Ahsoka's instant is no longer instant. Maul with Lord Vader doing their best to hold her off as long as possible. It might just be a turn, but at least in that regard, it's something. And also Maul's going to start with 5 stacks of anguish again.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Like, he's going up against Kenobi team.
And so your special 2 is going to be ready to go for, 5 attacks. with all that juice and all that damage and all the stuff that Lord Vader loves out of it.
Doesn't need another GL to reduce his cooldowns back to 0 or like that. He's gonna go off, and that's like I said, you're stacking up damage every time you use that ability. So you really want to use it 5 turns in a row. If you're not going to be against Kenobi team, you probably don't. I mean, you can use it at 3 stacks, but you probably want to wait until you get those extra couple stacks to really get the maximum value out of it, because it's going to ramp up over the damage over each attack, and you're going to just keep going until you use a different ability or your turn ends. There's also a world, and we were just talking with one of the other designers about this, where like you can then reset those stacks again by using the other special to then get a whole bunch more again. So instead of using that 4th ability or that fifth attack as the final stack of anguish, you then reset your stacks up to 5. You then have to wait for another turn, as opposed to keeping bonus turns, and then do it all over again. And that's like, you can pump out some serious damage. Maybe it's not an instant kill, but it's gonna wreck some faces with that thing.
It's getting there, yeah. I totally forgot that he does get frenzy too. So yeah, that's what you're referring to, is the frenzy buff obviously resets he lets him take a bunch of turns over and over again, it's sounding like. So
yeah.
That's interesting.
Thank you to Crumb and Miller for allowing us to do this. If you guys like the video, make sure you hit the thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave comments on what you guys think of the responses, and give your thoughts about the new kit and things of that nature. So you'd be more than willing to do that. Just keep it constructive is all we ask. So but on behalf of myself, Sir Loki, again, thank you to Crumb and Miller for allowing us to do this. Everyone be safe, and we'll see you when we see you.
Maul does like true damage, right? And with his special 2, which is really powerful here. And I'll throw it to Miller to answer this one, just because I know he was ready for this question. But we've just like changed a bunch of characters to deal with ignoring defense. Why are we adding another character that now deals true damage, which ignores defense specifically? Like, it seems like right in line where we just make these changes, then all of a sudden, hey, by the way, here's another character that does this thing. So Miller, maybe you can give some background to like the thought process behind that.
Sure. The thought process for the balance adjustments we made was that they were ignoring defense and then critting, right? Whereas true damage will ignore defense, but it can't crit, which is far more controllable on our end. We're talking about a 5% variance in the amount of damage that we can see going out with this attack versus a crit doing, dozens and 100% more damage because they hit their crit chance on and ignore defense. So that's really the problem. We're more than happy to add true damage to kits in the future because it is sort of caged behind that it can't crit caveat.
The combination of being able to crit and ignore defense was the real core issue here, and so it's like I said. That's why true damage is
So it's like the mechanic with the Bad Batch right now, right? Bad Batch all deal true damage, I believe. So you guys are going to continue that kind of model.
I would expect if a designer came to us and said, "Hey, I want this to ignore defense," we'll say, what you actually meant was you wanted to do true damage.
True damage,
right?
Kind of like a follow up too. I'm thinking like ships. Are any of the ships right now going to be adjusted too to this? Because is it Han Millennium Falcon that does it? I can't remember.
It's kind of its own meta right now, and like very separate from the mechanics to it. I mean, like it's not that it doesn't also an issue there, but it's like the way that we've designed kits over time has made this issue sort of exacerbated this issue over time to the point where it said like it's just going to continue to become a problem. Whereas ships is very much in a different set of mechanics for how they work around with reinforcements and things like that. There's some other things in play there that make it less of an issue. Not to say that like it's not something we'll look at in the future, but and I'll let maybe Miller answer this better because I'm not here to talk like a designer, but I would imagine that it's kind of a different ball game for the most part for ships.
Yeah, the ships meta, like you said it, ships meta is a different ball game. We don't have relic levels for ships.
No.
which is really where ignoring defense kind of really mathematically broke down at the highest relic levels. So until the pilot's relic level gets down to the ship at such a level where it is showing us it's a problem, ships are going to stay as they are.
Can I ask one more question? Because we're talking about Relic 9.
Maybe. Let's see.
You can try.
Is it safe to assume that when Maul finally gets released, or not released, but unlocked, will that be right around the time as Relic 9 possibly shows up?
You know what? I really wish I could tell you the answer to that, but I have 4 different timelines in my head of when stuff's getting released, and I don't have them all stacked up on one another. So I'm actually unsure when Maul's actual release unlocking coincides with the addition.
Yeah, it's also something that I don't think we're ready to quite talk about the timeline and details around Relic 9 yet. I may know the answer to that question while Miller's mind is on a million other things that are but we'll have to see.
Soon TM, right?
Soon TM, exactly.
There you go.
So,
Best answer ever.
we leave Miller to be the hyper nerd about all the Star Wars stuff and designing cool characters and not worry about release dates and stuff.
I just want to make a fun game where you can collect cool Star Wars characters and not feel like, I didn't get these characters and I didn't relic them up to 9, and so I just can't compete anymore, right? That's not really a game that I want the players to experience. I want them to be able to collect, the cool characters that they like and feel like that they're not just going to instantly be destroyed by a Relic 9 Darth Vader. The future of the game is what I'm looking out for. Fun fact, the original design was unfortunate we could not do. We tried very, very hard, was to, if you ended up with both buffs of Mandalore on your side, you automatically just won. It was just instant victory.
Maul took the throne, right? He takes it all.
and so we were like, now it would have had such interesting gameplay of do I even put my Maul on defense for risking somebody else's Maul coming in and getting an instant victory, taking out my leader, or they will, how is that going to play out in Grand Arenas, things like that. So unfortunately we tried very hard and we just couldn't make it work in all the game modes, so it had to change.
Absolutely.
I mean, a little bit of dev insight there. So
there was a condition where you could have 2 thrones. Is that what you're saying? And
when Maul goes up against another Mandalorian in the enemy leader slot, they also get the Mandalore title.
That's current right now. That's how the character works now.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a little throne war mechanic built into his kit already.
So it feels like, what is it? I mean, was it capture the flag, hot potato? I'm kind of thinking about it in my head. I go, it sounds kind of cool. I don't know. That's
capture
really
the Darksaber.
Yeah.
So technically, he brings 2 new buffs, right? He's got Anguish and he's got
the Mandalore buff. Yeah.
And the
if he's in the
Mandalore.
leader, if he's as a leader.